Good morning and welcome to Daylight Church Online. We're just so thankful that you're joining us this morning and hope that you have a great experience. We want to let you know that if you'll go to mydaylightchurch.com, there's a card there that says Online Church. And on the Online Church card, it'll tell you everything you need to know about being a part of our online church community, how you can get involved in small groups, how you can give financially, how you can be involved in the service projects that we do. So even if you're in Kansas or Cambodia, you can sure join us and be a part of our church. We'd like you to check it out there and introduce yourself. So go to mydaylightchurch.com and check out the online church card. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Rusty. So first of all, I have to apologize. I have to be a dad today. I double booked myself. Well, I kind of double booked myself. So one of my godsons plays college soccer for IUPUI. And they were picked 10th out of 10 in their conference. So when I saw, when H gave me the date and I saw Horizon League tournament come up, I went, no problem. Not gonna matter, they're picked 10th out of 10th. So then what do? They mess around and finish third, which means they get to host a playoff game. Yes! On the same day that I'm preaching. Yes! So it's gonna be amen. So I'm telling you now, so I already had someone tell me how great I did to go ahead and tell me so they could tell me before I did. So if y'all want to do that, that's fine. Go ahead and clap. Well done, well done. So let's start with some jokes now that you've clapped. You ready? How do you mend a jack-o'-lantern? With a pumpkin patch. How do you tell if a jack-o'-lantern is a pirate? By his pumpkin patch. How did the jack-o'-lantern quit smoking? Pumpkin patch. Where do all the mathematician pumpkins go? Pumpkin pie. Ah. I love it. All right. Kate loves it. We're good. All right. So I get to wear a lot of hats, but my most important hat I get to wear is I get to work with the youth. Y'all out there? They are out there, they're not awake. They thought they got the week off because Rusty was speaking. So youth, are you out there? Oh, there we go. All right. We're in a series right now, and I say series, which means I'm just keep talking about it. They don't know that we're in a series, I just keep talking about it. So we're doing a series about Jesus' interactions with people, right? So what did he do when he interacted with people? Sometimes he interacted with people in a good way, sometimes they didn't like the way they did it. But every week we ask questions like, who did he interact with? What did he say? What did it mean to them? What does it mean to us? So he interacted with all kinds of people. People who the world thought was crazy, the people who the world thought was dirty, people who are outcasts, but he also interacted with people who were the leaders, the religious leaders, the Roman centurions. Like it was all kinds of people. So this is where this story comes from. What you hear from this talk came from a great discussion I had with them, right? So we just throw the questions out and talk about it. I kind of guide the story, right? But what I love to hear is the questions that come back and the answers that come back. So what you're going to hear, they've already heard this, but they haven't heard it this way because I got to implement a bunch of cool stuff to go with it. But first, I have a caveat. So while you're turning to John 8, in your mobile devices or Bible or whatever you brought, I have a caveat. The story I'm telling you might not actually be in the Bible. Ooh. What, you say? It might not be in the Bible? That's what y'all were supposed to do, but y'all didn't do it, so I had to do it for you. There we go. So John 8, if you read the beginning of John 8, it says, this portion is not found in the earliest handwritten copies. Wow. What do you do with a story like that? So I'm going to teach you a story that's in the Bible that may not be in the Bible. Is that a great way to start this? It's perfect. Let's do this. So part of what I got to do is go read and say, what does this really mean, right? What does this mean that it might not be in the Bible? So if you look at the earliest handwritten things, it may not be in there. but just a couple hundred years later, it's already in there. So there's a bunch of theories, right? But one of the prevailing theories is that this was a story that John told, that he didn't put it in his gospel. So this is the way I kind of lean, and this is the way I'm going to talk about the story, is that John told this story but didn't include it in the gospel, but he told it so much that people thought it was in there. So when they went to write it down, they added it in. So the bigger question is, does it sound like this isn't the only place in the Bible where there's little brackets and things. There's only a couple places where there's big stories like this. But one of the big things that I like to run it through the filter of, does this sound like Jesus, right? So I'm telling you that it's not in there because it's in your Bible. It's in your notes, right? So I don't want to skip over it and just pretend. But there's a lot of tradition around this. There's a lot of history around this. And to me, this really sounds like Jesus. But I'll let you decide. This font is awful. And I'm sorry. It looked really good on my screen with the cool background and stuff. So since you have it pulled up, you can just read along. Now, I'm reading from the Message, so it's going to sound a little funny. The religion scholars and Pharisees led in a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They stood her in plain sight of everyone and said, "Teacher, this woman was caught red-handed in the act of adultery. Moses in the law gives orders to stone such people. What do you say?" They were trying to trap him into saying something incriminating so they could bring charges against him. So first of all, what's going on, right? They caught someone in the act of adultery, just the woman, but we'll talk about that later. But they were trying to catch Jesus, trying to trap him. So these guys all the time were trying to trap Jesus and put him in a little box and make him say what they wanted him to say, or what they didn't want him to say so they could do something about him. But he always seemed to wriggle his way out. But they were using a human as bait. They were using a human as bait. So there's a lot of times when they would come to Jesus and say, "Well, the law says this, what do you think of it?" And that didn't really work because he worked his way out of it. But this time they have a person, like a real person, in front of him and saying, "What do you think about this, Jesus?" The other interesting thing is they're calling back to the law, and we'll talk about this. But they were right. They were right in that this person committed adultery. And they were right that the thing was to stone them. We'll talk about that some more. So what did Jesus do? Jesus bent down and wrote in the finger with his dirt. Wrote with his finger in the dirt. So this is Jesus, right? This is so Jesus to me, right? What did he, this means nothing about the story. This has nothing to do with the story. It has nothing to do with anything. But what did he do in the dirt? It's one of my favorite questions in the entire Bible that means absolutely nothing. But what did he write? In my brain, he wrote the other mistresses' names, or another list of sins. Or maybe he was just doing that Zen thing in the dirt, kind of waiting on the whole thing to calm down. Because you've got a rabble, you've got a crowd, right? And there's chaos going on. And they're trying to trap him, and he takes a second and breathes. They kept at him, badgering him. He straightened up and said, "The sinless one among you go first. Throw the stone." Bending down again, he wrote some more in the dirt. Hearing that, they walked away, one after another, beginning with the oldest, and the woman was left alone. If you're sinless, go first. I'm not telling you it's right or wrong. I'm telling you, if you're sinless, go ahead and throw it first. Is that what he's saying? Or is he saying, if you didn't have anything to do with this, throw the rock first? Or is he saying, there's a list of 10 commandments, and I know you've all broken them. So if you haven't broken any of the 10 commandments, throw it first. Whatever he said, calmed the rabble down. And people started putting their stones down. Whatever he said, the older men heard it first. And they took a second and said, probably not the time to fight. Put their rocks down, and the young guys followed them. Then Jesus stood up and spoke to her. Woman, where are they? Does no one condemn you? She said, no one, Master. Neither do I, said Jesus. Go on your way, and from now on, don't sin. Did she get off the hook? Is that one way to read this? In fact, in doing the research about why this story was in there and why it wasn't, one of the prevailing theories was they took it out. It was originally in there, they took it out so people wouldn't think they could get away with adultery. And they put it back in when they figured out that was a stupid reason, which I think is a stupid reason. And for those that care, Hamarti, remember H is doing his sermon series and he did the sin series. This one's Hamarti, to miss the mark. So that's for you word nerds. Her actions were literally killing her. Jesus said, stop doing this. We're going to talk about all this again. But I want you to see that she didn't get off the hook. Jesus said, stop doing what you're doing. This is literally killing you. And in my smart mouth, I heard, yeah, next time I won't be here to save you. Now, that's the story. What I want to do today is I want you to connect with the characters. So we've got this cool story, and it sounds like Jesus, right? Are we cool that it's in there? It sounds like Jesus. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of tradition around this. Like, this is something we've been studying for years. I grew up King James only, and it was King James, if it was in the King James Bible, it was in there. So this was in there. Those of you who grew up that way, you know what I'm talking about. So first, let's connect with the religious leaders. I want you to get inside their head for a second, right? Yes, they're trying to trap Jesus. Yes, they're trying to protect their privilege. They're trying to protect themselves and their status and their area. But they were right. This was one of the Big 10. There's lots of laws that you can break, right? And these people kept up with every law and how you could break them and what you could do and what you could not do and how many steps you could take on the Sabbath and all that. Like, there's all this stuff that they could do. But like, this is one of the big ones, right? Do not commit adultery. They were right. What were they crying for? They were crying for justice. How many times have we been there? How many of you have you been on this side and say, we need justice for this? This happened, we need justice. This happened, we were wrong, we were wronged. We need justice. Now, were their intentions wrong? Sounds like it. But what were they crying for? They were crying for justice. The second character I want to talk about is the man. You don't commit adultery by yourself. Where was the man? Where was he? He's missing. Now, he got away with it. It's kind of the way I'm thinking about it, right? So she didn't, so he got caught. Either he didn't get caught, which is crazy, or he just got away with it because he knew somebody, or he was a man, or he was a friend of, or he was one of the rabble rousers. Like, there's some reason he got away. He had some privilege piece that got him away. But how many times have you been that person who got away with it? You did the thing, and the guy beside you got caught. The one time I ever was speeding, I'm like 18 or 19, and I'm in a friend's car, and there's two of us flying down this road that we're not supposed to be flying down this road, going way fast, right? My car was green. That car was red. Which one got caught? The red car. So I got away with it. Whew. Did I do the wrong? Should I have been punished? Did I get away with it, though? Okay. So we've all been there too, right? You've all been the one that got away. The parents didn't hear you sneak in? Just saying. You didn't drop the glass? Are you able to repair that vase just enough to where nobody noticed it? Or you forgot what she said, so you just did something? and it turned out to be right. I'm not saying these are things I've ever done. I'm just saying, I'm trying to help you connect with the sermon here. So, what does he want? He just wants it to go away. He just wants this to go away. He just wants to ignore it. This never happened. I just want it to go away. What about the woman? So, first of all, she was in the wrong, right? We're not letting her off the hook. She was caught in the act of adultery. We've all been caught. What do we want at that time? We want mercy. We want grace. We want compassion. She was doing something that was literally killing her. If Jesus hadn't been there, she'd have probably been stoned. This action that she's doing is killing her. But what does she want? Compassion. So sometimes we're the ones that get caught. And we want compassion. So take a second and connect with that. What in your life right now is killing you? Figuratively, spiritually, physically, literally? What's that thing in your life that you won't let go of? Now, there's big ones, right? There's adultery, there's lies, but there's also little things. Anger, fear, gossip. What's that thing in your life that's not letting you grow? What if it was exposed to us, online, everywhere? Think about it. What do you want? You want mercy. You want compassion. You want grace. You want all those cool church words. Sometimes we're the one that got away. But I think it's the same questions. What in your life is killing you? If you get away with it, do you try it again? Usually. If you get away with it and you want to just hide it so no one ever sees it, and you just pretend it doesn't happen, it just eats away at you. What do you want at that moment? You want the same things. You want mercy. You want compassion. You want love. Sometimes we're right. Sometimes we want justice. This happened to him. This happened to me. This happened to us. We need to take care of this right now. Now, this one's hard because there's times for justice. There's times when we need to stand up and say, this is wrong. There's also times for compassion. There's times for mercy and grace. How do we tell the difference? H has talked about this a few times, and a couple of the things pop up. First, what's going on in the heat of the moment? With these people, we had a crowd going on, right? We had a rabble. You could see this. Everybody's got their stones. They're ready to kill this lady, right? So you got this hullabaloo going on, all this stuff going on. And that's usually how it happens, right? We get up in a stir, we get things going, and we want to take care of this. We want to take care of it now, and everything needs to be taken care of right now. We need justice, and then sometimes we need to just take a minute. Lean down and right in the dirt a little bit. Breathe, pray, think. What are the facts and what's hearsay? What do you know and what you don't know? But I think one of the biggest things is humanize it. If we're talking about adultery and if it's wrong, you can have a discussion with Jesus and that's a totally different thing. If you throw a person in front and say, this person committed adultery, what about her? What are you going to do about her? It's a totally different story. If they wanted to have an adultery debate, they need to have an adultery debate. But if they humanize that, that's a totally different thing. Claire and I have this debate all the time. She's a discerner, she's a prophet, right? So she sees black and white, she sees right and wrong. So a situation comes up and she's like, you need to take care of that. You're the pastor, you need to take care of that. Or that's your friend, you need to, or that's your. And I'm the other side, I'm the teacher, right? It's a process. It's a process. We're growing. Everybody needs to step. Look at where they are now, where they have been. Look at where they're growing. So but sometimes Claire's right. Did I just say that on screen? Sometimes Claire's right. Sometimes we just need to nip that in the bud. Sometimes justice is the thing. Sometimes calling out the right and wrong is the thing. Sometimes I'm right. Now, I said that on camera. But sometimes I'm right. It's about a process. It's about our people growing, our people changing, right? What if we stepped in right now, would it help or hurt them? I'm not saying every situation is the same. It's not. But every situation is worth the conversation. Every situation is worth looking at. Because we've all been the one sitting down here getting ready to get stoned. We've all been that person who's caught. We've all been that person. At that point, we want compassion. If you're the one holding the stone, maybe Jesus was just reminding them, remember last time you got caught? What did you scream out for? Compassion, mercy, grace. What about Jesus? What did he do? What would Jesus do, right? What we say every week. So simple. Jesus didn't play their game. He talked to that woman. He talked to that person. He talked to that individual. Over and over in our study with the youth, we've talked about Jesus saw that person and where they were going and what they were doing. Now, he was God and he knew a little bit more than we do, but I think if we take our time, we can know that person. We can ask that question, why are they acting that way? Why do they keep doing the same thing over and over? What's making them change? What's making them not change? We can sit and ask the question, where are they in their growth? And are they changing? Jesus gave compassion to everyone in the room. He saved the religious leaders from having to kill someone. Have you ever thought about it that way? He saved the man from having to live with the fact that he got away and she didn't. He literally saved her life. He gave compassion to everyone in the room. It looked different to each one, but he gave compassion to each one in the room. We've all been in their shoes, trying to remember that when the shoe's on the other foot. Ask the question in each situation, how would you like to be helped? How would you like to be handled? How would you like to be treated if you were the woman crying out for mercy? If you're the man crying out that no one would know? If you're the religious leaders crying out for justice? In our sermon series lately, we've talked a lot about judging, about forgiving, about how to handle this kind of stuff. So I'm not going to rehash a lot of that because there's a lot of nuance to it and there's a lot of things, right? But the more you get to know someone, the more you get to know who they are and where they're coming from. The more you get to more that you're able to have a compassionate response to them or a correct response to them. Because sometimes you look at the people in your life who just need to be called out right now. So I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying, do you know the stuff around it? Matthew 7 is one of the chapters we've talked about a lot about judging. So I want to leave you with this quote. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. You want them to take the time to hear the whole story. You want them to call you out if you're just not changing. You want them to point out the things in your life that are killing you. That's what you want. You may not say that out loud, and you definitely don't say it in the heat of the moment. But that's what you want. You also want compassion and mercy when you get caught. You also want to be told it's okay. Let's figure it out from here. In everything, do to others as you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. So do not commit adultery is one of the laws. What Jesus is saying here is that do to others that you'd have to do them to do unto you, and you would have skipped that step. But now that you've gotten there, what do you want them to do to you? Compassion, grace, faith, peace. So in everything, do to others as you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets.